You don't have an overthinking problem. You have a control problem. Your mind says something, and you follow it. Immediately, a thought appears. What if this goes wrong? And before you even notice, your body reacts. You feel tension. You start replaying. You start preparing. Not because you chose to, but because you didn't stop it. That's how it works. One thought becomes a reaction. That reaction becomes another thought. And now you're stuck. Not in your head, but in a loop you never interrupted. You think you're thinking, but you're not. You're reacting. Automatically. Without control. That's why it feels exhausting. Because it never stops. Not when things are bad. Not even when things are fine. You can sit in a quiet room and still feel pressure. Because the noise isn't outside. It's the speed of your reaction. Every thought gets your attention. Every signal gets a response. Nothing is ignored. Nothing is left alone. And that's the real problem. You don't give your mind space to settle. You keep it moving. Constantly. Most people try to fix this the wrong way. They try to think better thoughts. They try to calm down. They try to control everything inside their head. But that doesn't work. Because now you're reacting to the thoughts. And reacting to the noise itself. More effort. More control. More pressure. And the loop continues. So here's the shift. You don't need a quieter mind. You need to stop obeying every thought it produces. Because the moment you stop reacting, you take control back. And when you take control back, the noise loses its power. In this video, I'm going to show you 8 Stoic habits that will help you break that automatic reaction and finally stop letting your mind run your life. Here's what's actually happening inside your head. A thought appears, and you treat it like a command. Not a suggestion. Not a random signal. A command. Something you need to respond to. Immediately. You don't question it. You don't pause. You act. And most of the time, you don't even realize you're doing it. Think about how fast it happens. A message comes in, or doesn't come in, and your mind reacts. What does this mean? Why haven't they replied? Did I do something wrong? You didn't choose to think that. It just appeared. But what you did next was automatic. You followed it. You stayed with it. You built on it. And now you're inside it. That's how you lose control. Not because the thought exists, but because you treat it like something important. Something urgent. Something that needs your attention. Every time. So your mind learns. It learns that every thought gets a response. That nothing gets ignored. And because of that, it keeps sending more. Faster. Stronger. More frequent. Not because something is wrong, but because you trained it that way. You trained it to believe that every signal matters. And now it doesn't stop. That's why your mind feels loud. That's why it feels overwhelming. Because there is no filter. No pause. No control. Just reaction after reaction after reaction. And the worst part is, you think this is normal. You think this is just how your brain works. But it's not. It's a pattern. A learned behavior. And anything that is learned can be changed. But not by thinking more. Not by trying harder. Not by forcing yourself to calm down. You don't fix this by adding more control. You fix this by removing the automatic response. By breaking the connection between thought and reaction. Because right now, they are too close together. There is no space between them. And that is where your control is supposed to be. In that gap. That moment where you can decide, do I follow this or not? Most people never use that moment. They don't even see it. They just react. Over and over again. And that's why nothing changes. Because the system keeps running. Exactly the same way. Until you interrupt it. There's something you need to see clearly. Right now. You think you're struggling with your thoughts. But you're not. You're struggling with your reactions. Because if you really pay attention, you'll notice something. Your thoughts don't actually control you. You give them permission. Every time a thought appears, and you move, not because you have to, but because you're used to it. That's the difference. It's not power. It's habit. And habits can feel like control when you repeat them long enough. Think about it. How many times have you reacted without even realizing it? You checked your phone again. You replayed something in your head. You started worrying for no reason. Not because you decided to, but because it felt automatic. That's what you need to break. Not the thought. The automatic response. Because right now, there is no gap. Thought right pointing arrow reaction. Instant. No space. No control. And as long as that stays the same, nothing changes. You can learn everything. You can understand every concept. But if you don't interrupt that moment, you're still stuck. That's why this matters. Because the second you create even a small gap, everything shifts. Now you're not reacting. You're choosing. And that's the first time you actually have control. So if the problem is your reaction, then the solution is simple. You slow it down. Not your thoughts. Your reaction. That's where control starts. Not by fighting what appears in your head, but by changing what you do next. Habit 1. Pause before you react. A thought shows up, and instead of moving immediately, you wait. Just a few seconds. That's it. No analysis. No answer. No action. You don't try to fix it. You don't try to understand it. You just don't move. At first, this feels uncomfortable. Because you're used to doing something. Responding. Solving. Continuing. But that impulse is exactly what's been controlling you. So this time, you interrupt it. You let the thought sit there, without turning it into anything. And something interesting happens. The urgency starts to drop. Because most thoughts only feel powerful when you react to them immediately. Take that away, and they lose their edge. They become weaker, less convincing, easier to ignore. That's the first shift. Now you're not being pulled. You're holding your position. And that alone changes everything. But sometimes, a pause isn't enough. Because the thought keeps pushing. It stays there, trying to get your attention. That's where the second habit comes in. Habit 2. Don't act on the first thought. Your first thought is rarely the best one. It's fast, emotional, reactive. It's based on fear, memory, or habit, not clarity. But most people treat it like truth. They feel it, and they move right away. That's how mistakes happen. That's how overthinking grows. Because you act on something before it settles. So now you do something different. You let the first thought pass, without acting on it, without making a decision, without turning it into behavior. You wait. And when you wait, a second layer appears. Slower, clearer, less emotional, more grounded. That's where better decisions come from. Not from the first impulse, but from what comes after. Let's make this real. You send a message. No reply. Your first thought. They're ignoring me. Your body reacts. You want to send another message. Or check again. Or start thinking about what went wrong. But now, you pause. You don't act. You let that first thought sit there. And you do nothing. A few seconds pass. Then something else shows up. Maybe they're just busy. Less intense. Less urgent. More reasonable. But you only get that if you don't move too fast. That's the difference. You're not trying to control your mind. You're controlling your reaction to it. And that's where your power is. Because once you stop acting immediately, you stop feeding the loop. You stop reinforcing the pattern. And slowly, your mind starts to change. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped giving it Automatic control over your behavior. That's the foundation. Pause. And don't act on the first thing you feel. Everything else builds on that. At this point, you can pause. You can stop the immediate reaction. But there's another problem. Even if you don't react right away, you're still following the thought. You stay inside it. You keep building on it. And that's how the loop continues. So now the next shift is this. Habit 3. Stop following the thought. A thought appears. You pause. Good. But then, you start thinking about it. You replay it. You analyze it. You add details to it. And now you're back in the same place. Not reacting with your body, but reacting with your attention. That's enough to keep it alive. Because attention is fuel. Where your attention goes, the thought grows. So this time, you don't follow it. You notice it, and you leave it. You don't continue the sentence. You don't build the story. You don't ask, what if, again and again. You let it exist, without turning it into something bigger. Let's make this real. You get a message. We need to talk. Your first reaction is already controlled. You paused. But now your mind wants to continue. What does that mean? Is something wrong? Did I mess up? And this is where most people lose it. They don't react externally, but they go deep internally. They follow the thought. They build a full scenario in their head. And by the time the conversation actually happens, they've already lived it 10 times. So now you do something different. You stop. Not just your reaction, but your attention. You see the thought, and you don't go further. You stay with what is real. A message was sent. That's it. Everything else is projection. And when you stop feeding that projection, the intensity drops. Because the thought is no longer expanding. Now, there's one more step. Because even when you stop following the thought, your attention can still stay stuck in your head. And as long as you're in your head, the system keeps running. So you need to move your attention out of it. Habit 4. Shift your focus to something real. Not something complicated. Not something abstract. Something physical. Something in front of you. Your breath. Your hands. The space around you. Anything that exists outside your thoughts. Because thoughts only have power when you stay inside them. The moment your attention moves, their grip weakens. Let's take a simple example. You're lying in bed. Your mind starts replaying something from earlier. You've already paused. You're not reacting. But the thought is still there. So now you shift. You feel your breath. In and out. You feel your body against the bed. You notice the room. And just like that, you're no longer inside the thought. It's still there. But it's not leading anymore. You are. That's the difference. You don't fight your mind. You step out of it. And once you do that, it loses control over your attention. Which means, it loses control over you. Stop following the thought, and move your focus to what's real. That's how you break the loop. For real. By now, you can pause. You can stop reacting. You can stop following every thought. That already puts you ahead of most people. But there's still something deeper going on. Something that keeps pulling you back. Even when you're aware. Even when you're trying to stay in control. It's this. You're trying to fix everything. In your head. Before it even happens. Habit 5. Stop rehearsing life. Most of your mental noise comes from running simulations. You think you're preparing. You think you're being smart. But most of the time, you're just repeating the same situation. Over and over again. A conversation that hasn't happened. A problem that doesn't exist yet. A scenario you keep adjusting. Every time. Adding more detail. More pressure. More tension. And the more you rehearse, the more real it feels. Not because it is real, but because your mind has experienced it multiple times. So when the moment finally comes, you're already exhausted, already tense, already inside your head. That's why things feel harder than they should. You didn't just face the moment once. You faced it 10 times before it even started. So now you change that. You think once. Clearly. You understand what matters. And then you stop. You don't keep looping. You don't keep improving the scenario. You leave it. Because real life will never match what you imagined anyway. And trying to perfect it in advance only creates more noise. So instead of preparing endlessly, you trust your ability to respond when it actually happens. That's real control. Not thinking more, but thinking less, and acting when needed. Now, under all of this, there's something even stronger. Something that drives the need to rehearse. The need to control. The need to think everything through. It's uncertainty. Habit 6. Stop trying to resolve everything immediately. You want answers. Right now. You want to know what something means. You want clarity. You want certainty. And when you don't have it, your mind starts working, filling the gap with assumptions, with guesses, with worst-case scenarios. Not because they're true, but because they feel like control. Even a negative answer can feel better than not knowing. At least it gives you something to hold on to. But that's the trap. Because now you're reacting to something that isn't even real. You're solving a problem that hasn't happened. So you stop. You don't chase the answer. You don't force a conclusion. You let the question exist, unanswered. For now. Let's make it simple. You send a message. No reply. Your mind wants to move. What does this mean? What should I do? Should I follow up? But instead of reacting, you do nothing. You leave it. You accept that right now there is no answer. And that's fine. Because not everything needs to be solved in the moment. And when you stop trying to resolve everything, your mind slows down. Because it's no longer chasing closure. It's no longer trying to control the unknown. It's just waiting. Calm. Ready. And that's where real control starts. Not in having all the answers, but in being able to stay still when you don't. At this point, you've taken back some control. You don't react instantly. You don't follow every thought. You don't try to fix everything in advance. But there's still one thing that can pull you back. Outcomes. What you want to happen. What you expect. What you're hoping for. And the moment reality doesn't match that, your mind starts moving again. Trying to fix it. Trying to understand it. Trying to bring it back to what you wanted. That's where you lose control. Not because something went wrong, but because you were attached to a specific result. So now the shift is this. Habit 7. Focus on your action, not the outcome. You do your part. That's it. You show up. You speak clearly. You do what needs to be done. And then, you stop. You don't keep adjusting things in your head. You don't replay what already happened. You don't try to control what comes next. Because that part was never yours. There are too many variables. Other people. Timing. Situations you can't see. Trying to manage all of that inside your mind is what creates the noise. So instead of asking, did this go how I wanted? You ask something else. Did I do my part well? That's in your control. That's something you can improve. That's something that gives you stability. Because now your mind isn't chasing results. It's grounded in action. And action is real. Action is present. Action doesn't require overthinking. Let's make it simple. You go into a conversation. Before, you would think, I need this to go well. Now, you shift. I'm going to say what needs to be said. That's it. No script. No expectation. Just action. And whatever happens after, you deal with it when it's real. Not before. Not in your head. And that changes everything. Because now there's nothing to control. Once the action is done, nothing to replay. Nothing to fix. Just space. And in that space, your mind settles. Not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer trying to make it perfect in your head. You act, and you move on. That's control. By now, you know how to take control. You can pause. You can ignore the first impulse. You can stop following every thought. You can let things stay unresolved. That's powerful. But there's a problem. If you only do this, when things get intense, you'll always feel like you're fighting your mind. And eventually, you'll lose. Not because you're weak, but because you're reacting too late. So the final habit is this. You don't wait for the moment. You train before it happens. Habit 8. Build daily control. Not something complicated. Not a long routine. Just a small window where you practice not reacting. Every day, a few minutes is enough. You sit, no phone, no distraction, and you let your mind do whatever it wants. Thoughts will come. That's normal. But this time, you don't follow them. You don't answer them. You don't move. You just sit there and stay in control. At first, it feels uncomfortable because you're used to engaging. You're used to doing something. So doing nothing feels wrong. But that's the point. Because control isn't built when things are easy. It's built when you resist the urge to react. This is where you train that. You notice a thought. You feel the impulse to follow it. And you don't. You stay still. That's one representative. Then another thought comes. Another urge. You don't move. That's another representative. And over time, this changes your baseline. You react less. You recover faster. You stay grounded longer. Not because you're trying harder, but because you've trained it. Just like anything else, you don't wait until the game starts to build strength. You train before. So when pressure shows up, you're ready. Not perfect, but in control. And that's what this gives you. A way to stay steady, even when your mind isn't. At the end of all this, your mind hasn't changed. It still produces thoughts. It still reacts. It still throws things at you when you least expect it. That part doesn't go away. And it doesn't need to. Because the goal was never to control what appears in your head. The goal was to control what you do next. That's where everything changes. A thought shows up. Before, you followed it. Now, you pause. You decide. You choose whether it matters or not. And most of the time, it doesn't. That's the shift. Not fewer thoughts. Better control. Because once you stop reacting automatically, the system breaks. The loop slows down. The noise loses its power. Not because it's gone, but because it's no longer leading you. You are. That's what most people never realize. They think they need a quiet mind to feel in control. But it's the opposite. Control comes first. Silence comes after. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped feeding everything that used to make it loud. So the next time your mind starts moving, don't fight it. Don't try to shut it down. Just do what you've trained. Pause. Don't act on the first impulse. Don't follow the thought. Stay with what's real. And move when it actually matters. That's it. Simple. But not easy. And that's why it works. You don't need to win every battle inside your head. You just need to stop letting it make decisions for you. Because the moment you take that back, everything changes. Not outside, but in how you move through it. And that is real control. There's one more thing you need to understand. And most people don't want to hear it. Your mind is not the problem. The real problem is that you don't trust yourself without it. You rely on it constantly. You let it run because silence feels uncomfortable. Because when things go quiet, there's nothing to hold on to. No distraction. No explanation. No control. Just you. And for a lot of people, that's the hardest part. So they go back to thinking. Not because it helps, but because it fills the space. Because noise feels safer than stillness. At least noise feels like something. Like you're doing something. Like you're in control. But you're not. You're just staying busy inside your own head. Avoiding the one thing that actually matters. Facing reality. Without adding anything to it. That's what most people can't do. They need the story. They need the explanation. They need to feel like they understand everything. Even if it's wrong. Because not knowing feels like losing control. But here's the truth. You were never in control of everything. You just thought you were. And your mind helped you believe that. It gave you something to hold on to. Something to chase. Something to fix. But none of that is real control. Real control is this. Standing still. When there's nothing to solve. Moving forward. Without needing certainty. Letting things happen. Without turning them into a problem. That's harder. That's uncomfortable. But that's real. So if your mind gets loud again, don't rush to quiet it. And don't run back into the noise. Just stay there. Without adding anything. Without trying to escape. Because the moment you stop needing the noise is the moment you're actually free.